What we're going to talk about today is getting the most out of your digital media mix. So everybody knows what media is. We want to talk about not just where should you put your budget, how can you use it, how can you maximize it. So why is paid media so exciting? What are the things that really get us paid media people so excited? Media can amplify what you're doing already. So if you're putting a lot of great content out there, use media to get it even further, get it in front of new audiences. Media is really highly targetable. So for anybody who's actually seen all the different options, you know that you can basically find a very, very specific audience and set of people and really then test and get the right message in front of them and figure out what do they respond to, what are they looking for. So media can reach users at all stages of the customer journey. So we like to think of, if somebody's searching for something, they're really, in the moment, engaged, talking about, are they researching for a trip? Are they looking for what are they going to buy? But you can put a message in front of them by knowing, oh, this is my target audience. How do I get in front of them maybe when they're not thinking about it, but I can spark that moment for them? And then how all this works together is the right media mix comes from continuously testing. So what we want to do is put a whole bunch of different messages out there, put a whole bunch of different things in front of different audiences, and then tweak it and figure out what's working, what's not, and then how do we very quickly and dynamically move into the direction to say, okay, here's where the market's going, here's what my audiences are showing me, here's what this set of this combination of messages is doing to show me where it's getting the most engagement, conversion, awareness from my audience. So it starts with translating goals into an actual media strategy. So one of the things that we want to do is start with, what are you actually trying to do? So a lot of, we want revenue. Okay, that's great, but how do you want that revenue? Do you want to drive people to a restaurant? Are you trying to get more loyalty people to come back? So starting to understand what are the actual goals that we can work with is where then we come back with, okay, that's where we can put the media strategy together around what the actual goal is. One of the places that we start is you heard from Zulema earlier, that starting with the customer persona and really understanding who is our target audience is the right first step to then understand what kind of media should we put out there to reach them. So for example, if we really understand what the personality is behind somebody, what are the motivations, what are their goals, we can have a better understanding of that intent that we were talking about earlier. So who is Clark Andrews? What does he want? Is he, doing a golf weekend with his buddies? How do we make sure that if there's a golf course that we can get him to, we're putting that right message in front of him, because we know that, his motivations might be different from somebody who's a completely different audience member. So starting with that understanding of who our customer is where we begin to then put together the media plan. So the data behind who that person is or who that audience is comes from all of the tools that we have available to us. So we use things like Google Analytics, the Facebook tools, all of the different pieces that come together to start to say, okay, how many females versus males are we looking at who are either coming to your site or exhibiting certain behaviors? Are they searching for travel? Who are those people? What are their age ranges? If you don't already know that 25% of your visitors to your site are 35 to 44, what can you do to make sure that when they do come to your site, you put the right experience in front of them? And then looking at, of course, things like geography. So how do we vary a message from somebody who's coming and visiting our site from New York that's different from somebody who's coming from Orlando? What are their different motivations and what are their different key triggers? Once we understand where that user is, what device they're using, what sites they're going to, how much time they're spending, reading content versus scrolling through Facebook, all of those different things, we can start to put together, the pieces of which strategies are the right way to approach this. One of the things too that we're constantly doing is looking for new opportunities to test. All of the digital media channels that are out there have varying different degrees of targeting, different costs, different levels of efficiency, again, depending on what your goals are, and we're always trying to find what are those new areas that we can take advantage of and gain new learnings from. So for example, Gmail sponsored ads is a newer in the past year to two kind of tool in our toolkit to understand, people are responding to some of these promotional pieces that we're putting in front of them in their Gmail account. So we've seen great response rates from that, and we can really get a really good understanding from, what newsletters are they subscribing to. If they're talking about, if they're subscribing to Travel and Leisure's top 10, let's make sure that we're putting something in front of them that matches that message. Adara and Facebook is another example. They've recently integrated, and Adara's data is now available through Facebook. So for those of you familiar with Adara, the benefit that they bring is real-time data. So who's booking? What are they searching for? So that real-time data that's not, it's like some other data sets which can be 30, 60, 90 days old. We now have the ability to combine really powerful data with a medium that, as we saw from what Kanika was sharing, very current, very real, very much a presence in everyone's life. So how do we do this? Where do we start? How do we start putting together the actual media plan for you? So when we think about awareness, consideration, engagement, and conversion, those are 4 stages of a customer journey. We've talked about how there's a couple different frameworks that we've used to do that. So are you dreaming? Are you planning? Etc. So awareness, what are we trying to do to get people kind of understanding, oh, we are a brand that can meet their needs. So what channels are there that might be able to help us meet that consumer journey phase? So looking at in-market display, putting a message out there that just says, here's what we offer, here's the benefit of our brand. Meta search specifically for some of the travel vendors that we're travel partners that we're working with. Social, in-market search. So all of these have their own kind of combination of how they can be mixed and matched to put together to solve multiple needs of the consumer journey. So if we look at an example specifically of how we would do this, so same stages of the awareness funnel, if you have a goal of, you have a new brand, you're building your new hotel, how do you get people aware of it first? Definitely always want conversions, but first you have to get people aware of it and then get them through the stages of the funnel so that they can actually convert. So starting with a sample media mix, how would we do that? Is we would definitely want to focus on awareness. We would want to put some display ads in place. We would want to understand, who are the target audiences that we know and get in front of them, but who maybe don't we know? And we can use some of those data and tools that we have available to us to understand better, okay, what does that look-alike person? So we know this person, but who else might be out there that has similar behaviors and has demonstrated similar behaviors to kind of help us understand they might be a good fit. Let's test it out and let's see. And then you never want to ignore, we never want to ignore any one phase of the customer journey. Again, partially media is meant to reach somebody at a specific phase, but there's a lot that we can do with the different messaging we put in front of them and the different experience to actually help get them from one stage to the next. So once you make them aware of the brand, how do we then say, oh, well, here's how and why you should consider our brand. And then, oh, come engage with our content, look at our social media messages and imaging, and then continue to kind of help them, not just leave it to chance that they're going to get from one stage to the next, but provide the right message and the right triggers to get them through that. Another example is, driving direct revenue. So we want to maximize ROI. You're an established brand. You want to make sure that you're getting as much from your direct bookings as you can, or getting as much, traffic to your site so you can drive people to actually purchase from your site versus another. Again, it's not ignoring any one particular stage of the funnel. It's actually being able to say, okay, we want to focus on conversions. How do we do that? We're very heavy in branded search. We hit people with ads once they've been to our site through remarketing. But if we only focus on conversion, we're never going to get any new customers. So let's continue to make sure that we have people consistently coming through to our site to book by getting them aware and engaged.
All right. So one of the things I want to focus on today is meetings, RFPs, and getting more people for weddings to group and stay at your hotel. One of the ways we're able to do this is Facebook. Think of all of the information that we put in Facebook. I put that I like dogs. I put that I like beer and traveling and coffee. So there's a lot of information in Facebook that we put in there that you don't realize that we're able to use for advertising specifically. Using all of that, I'm able to then get that information and target B2B customers as well as B2C customers in Facebook. One of the ways we're able to do that is target the fans of competitors. So think of you have a meeting venue place and you want to get more people to stay at your location. And you know that there's other possible hotels or competitors around your area that also want the same thing. So what I can do is have a really lovely conversation with you guys on the phone. And we can go over and you can help me, kind of pick out who those competitors might be specifically. And we can target those and the fans of those people. So similar to those people, I'm able to target which will help then generate more possible RFPs in market audiences. We're also able to target specific companies and job titles. So, one of the other ways I can do is I can target executive assistants, meeting planners, all the other fun titles that go along with event planning and everything. I don't know all of them, but we could Google it if we want. And then, again, with specific companies. So if you know that you have Fortune 500 companies around your area that are willing to travel, we can work in cohesion to target those specific companies and people that work there with those titles, which would be more B2B connection. And you want them to come to your hotel so that they can have, book events places like this and maybe even book rooms like here. And then the last thing that we can do within Facebook that's super important is target life events. Let's say that we want to get people interested in weddings. So let's say that I just decided to change my relationship status from single to engaged. Now I'm going to start getting ads for weddings because I'm in the market of possibly getting married. So I can then target that from 3 weeks, 6 months to a year out, and then friends of people who have recently been engaged. So I know that I have at least 6 friends that are about to get married very soon. And I'm getting all of the ads because I'm at the age range of possibly getting married soon. So very interesting. One thing that I can say is these ads are super successful because then they get transferred over to Instagram. I know that I am a sucker for purchasing things on Instagram. I'm a millennial. I like fun, pretty cool looking ads, and they have really done a really good job at targeting me. So if I'm a sucker and work for this, your customers can be too. All right, cool. So one way that we were able to do this, one of my clients used to be Hyatt Regency Clearwater. They're a beautiful, beautiful resort and spa in Clearwater, Florida. And they have wonderful photos. They're really just truly beautiful photos. And so one of the ways that we wanted to gain more RFPs, possible group bookings and everything was to leverage the photos both in Facebook and Instagram. So what we did was we made it a traffic link. So essentially we wanted people to go specifically to the website, but we also wanted people to engage with the ads to see which imagery would be better. So I was able to see which photo was better. So if you can see the first photo with the man and the wife, that's the one that had the most click-through rate specifically. But also it just showed us, maybe how I can apply that to other or digital media platforms like Google or Bing, Adara, Sojourn. So it was super successful with this. And the other cool thing is that because we're able to take all of the targeting metrics we put into Facebook, I'm also able to put that into Instagram, and it scrolls up in your news feed when you're looking at your friends and family. Hey, Hyatt Regency Clearwater, come stay here for a wedding. And then it sticks in your head, and then 6 weeks later you're like, oh yeah, I saw that ad for Clearwater. So it's very, very successful. So this ad specifically brought this great success story. So with using Facebook, I was also using the Google Display Network. The Google Display Network drove 53% higher impression share, but in cohesion with the Google Display Network, we had Facebook, which delivered 2,300 more clicks to the meetings and events page, drove a higher RFP submissions than year-over-year traffic, and then had an 83% lower average cost per click. So who doesn't want to save money and get a higher brand awareness and more user engagement? I know I do. And then the value of display and remarketing to support brand awareness, combat OTAs, and overall support our in-market and brand campaigns in Google. So what do? I sit at my computer and I read all of your data. Basically, I go in one of the platforms like Google Analytics, and I'm able to pull, who the customers are, who are the higher converting customers. We can do this quarterly, we can do it yearly, we can do it for a high season or a low season specifically. But here, one of my clients, for Q2 specifically, I was able to see that 55% of them were female. The top converting clients were between 25 and 34, and then their feeder market is below. So I want to show my ads to these people specifically because these people are more likely to convert and are interested with my property, or maybe not property, maybe jewelry or shoes, or basically whatever have you. I want to target to these people because they're more likely to purchase my item. In unison with that, we added remarketing. So the thing we wanted to do was, with the previous slide, we want to make sure that we're generating a larger audience. You know, we want to get more people aware of who you are, where you are, and what's cool about you. So once we're able to generate that higher audience list, I'm then able to remarket my ads to those people because they once clicked on our website, and we're going to show them the ad a second time because they're likely to convert a second time. So using display and remarketing in unison, you're able to actually increase your potential conversions by 26% if you didn't have those. You won't likely see actual conversions come through display or remarketing. They will support your brand and non-brand campaigns, but it's super important to have. One of the other things that we were able to help with this specifically is using, Google had a beta called SmartList that essentially takes a series of different audiences that we pulled from your website, you know, people who didn't convert, people who might have visited a certain web page, you know, similar to audiences, and it basically chooses the right audience algorithmically when they're more likely to convert. So then you're using a lower average cost per click because you're not having people just, you know, blatantly click on your ad, and then it brings up your click-through rate. So what did that bring? That brought for Q2 actually a 12% higher impression share in brand and a 6% higher impression share in in-market search. So we blew the OTAs out of the water. And the really cool thing about this is that this property specifically has a low season around this time. You know, they typically turn their media off or have really low spend. So by implementing this, we were able to actually combat the OTAs completely. We showed up 90% or more than the OTAs and other competitors in top ranking of the page. And our average position for non-brand, so things like hotels in Denver, we were able to show up, have an average position of 2. So super important, guys, use display and remarketing. All right, and then last but not least, the value of running digital media campaigns continuously. Don't turn your media off. Talk with me or your AM and we will work with you to help you, because one of the worst things you can do is turn your media off. I understand budgets are tight and you probably have other people that tell you what to do with the budget and it's not up to you, but it's very important to keep it on, because if you keep turning it off, it's like turning on a faucet in the summer or the winter time and you're waiting for the water to get warm. You know, it takes like 3 minutes to get warm and then you're just freezing in the shower and it's not fun. But anyways, basically the goal my client told me was to maintain brand awareness and generate revenue. So I'm thinking, all right, we have to keep media on the entire time. Let's not turn it off, and we need to maintain a media presence. We always want to be there. Even if we're spending $5 a day, I'll give you the $5. We need to stay on. So we increased our budget by a couple $100s on those months that were off. So the media budget didn't go up exponentially. I think it was about 15% of the total annual budget. We kept it on. What did that do? So if you can see on the right or your left-hand side, the stuff that's in red is where we normally historically turn that off. So Q2 we only made a little over $8,000. With that little bump increase for Q2 in 2017, running media consistently and optimizing for conversions and using the My Customer little thing that we showed you previously, we increased revenue by 62%, guys. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. So we generated $23,000 in Q2. So digital media is very important. One thing I want you guys to take away is leveraging social media paid campaigns. So like I said, Facebook. We can do a lot of really fun and interesting targeting in there, and we can pull data from Google Analytics and then optimize for that in Facebook. Really great way to test things out. Second was running display and remarketing to support your brand campaigns. Doing that will really help you guys hold on to brand awareness specifically and catch people where they might not be sure, teeter-tottering. You want to get them back with those remarketing ads, 26% more likely to book. And then always keeping media on. Please keep it on, guys. Come on. All right, guys. Thank you.